Hi everyone, good evening. I hope you are doing good. So, we will be starting shortly. Let other people join. So, before we start with today's class, in case you are having any doubt from yesterday's class, where we talked about IAM service of AWS and S3 storage service from AWS. So, in case you are having any doubt from yesterday's class, you can type in the YouTube chat and I will be answering that. Okay, in the meantime, let me start a small poll just to check whether you have enabled the MFA or not. Because that's very important because since uh, there can be misuse because username and password is fine, but along with that, multi-factor authentication should also be there. So I talked about it yesterday. Using the Google Authenticator app, you can make your AWS account more secure. So I'm just starting a small poll in the YouTube chat. You can just answer that so that we get to know about the MFA status for your trial account. So I have received only one vote. I would request everyone to vote on the poll so that we have more accurate data. Okay, I think I have received few votes and I can see that 75% people have enabled the MFA and 25% people are not yet done. So this is very important thing as we discussed in yesterday's class as well. I would recommend everyone to enable MFA on your account so that without an issue, without worrying about anything, you can use all AWS services and that should not cost you anything. Okay, so I'm ending the poll here and we should start with today's class. So just give me a moment. Let me first of all log in into my AWS account. So I will provide my email address. I will provide my password and additionally it will ask for the MFA code. So just give me a moment. I will open my Google Authenticator app and I need to enter the password 778954. Okay, so I have successfully logged in into my AWS account and now we should be ready to start with today's topic. So today's topics are there are two topics. One topic is EC2 that stands for Elastic Compute Cloud and another topic is Lambda functions. So first of all we'll start with EC2. I am typing in the search bar and it will display, you can see here, and you can see the tagline. It is saying virtual server in the cloud. So even in our demo class, we talked about a virtual server. I was explaining like how the servers are geographically located somewhere, but the access is given to you, and you can work on those servers. And as far as the capacity is concerned, you can change it at any point of time. And if you keep your server in stopped state, that won't charge you anything. Only when your server is in running state, that would be those many hours will be used for your billing purpose. On top of that, we are getting 750 hours of EC2 instance every month, that's a quite good limit. That means you can do all of your practices without paying anything. If you are still under AWS free tier limit, that means you can use the services easily. Okay, so let me click on EC2, and on the left side I will click on instances, and you will see that there is no instance available as of now. It is saying no instances. That's fine. We will create our first instance. So you can click on this here, launch instances, or even on the right upper corner there is an option of launch instances. You can click on that. Okay, and after that you can specify the name of your instance. It's completely up to you. Just like yesterday we were creating roles, users, policies, and S3 buckets, and we were providing some meaningful name. Similarly, you can provide a meaningful name for your server. So I can give my first first EC2 server. You can give any name. It's not required to be unique. That's not required at all. That means you can give any name as per your preference. Maybe you are launching one server for web application, maybe launching one server for application server, or one server for maintaining the database or something. So depending upon the type of server, depending upon your project's requirement, you can give a meaningful name, because right now you are launching one instance, so it's okay. But in case you have 5, 10 instances, in that case you should know which instance is for what purpose, right? So giving a meaningful name is very important here. The next thing we have to do is application and OS image. Whenever you buy a new laptop, so there is some operating system pre-installed, right? Suppose Windows is installed, or if you are buying a Mac system, that means Mac operating system is installed. And sometimes you can even buy a laptop without any operating system, and then you can install operating system as per your choice. There are different type of operating system available. Even when you are launching a new server on AWS, as you can see here, you can use Amazon Linux. This is a Linux operating system but customized by AWS. That means the, you can say, basic AWS services, basic AWS commands, and few more tools, right? Those will be pre-installed on that server. That means you don't have to spend additional time to configure all those services. That's the benefit. Otherwise, if you want to go with Mac OS, or if you want to go with Ubuntu operating system, or Windows, or Red Hat, and if you can click here, you can find even many more. Okay, so usually until or unless you don't have any specific requirement, then we usually go with Amazon Linux, because this is, you can say, optimized for the performance. So for today we'll be going with Amazon Linux. Okay, and here in the list from Amazon Linux there is a big list. You can choose different type of operating system, and you can see that the first two, right, these are free tier eligible. That means only if you are launching the server using these two images, then only your it will be free for you. So always while launching the service, make sure that you are going with the particular service which is eligible for free tier. That's very important thing. Okay, so by default it is selecting Amazon Linux 2023 AMI, and that's good. We can go ahead with that. So I will keep this selected, and I will come down. You can see instance type. As I said, right, there are different type of hardware configuration available. You can see the first one, T2.micro. T2.micro is the type of instance. And what type of details are here? You can see this one. One vCPU. vCPU means virtual CPU. And along with that, 1 GB of RAM, right? So if you are doing just some testing or some learning process, this is sufficient. One CPU and 1 GB of memory. It's not hard drive, it's your RAM. 1 GB of RAM. And as far as hard disk is concerned, that is, you can see on the right side here, storage is 8 GB. By default, 8 GB will be allocated to your small server. But in case you feel that okay, 8 GB is very less, I may need to process some data, I may need to run some application, and I need to add few more storage. That also we can do. But we will add as per the free tier eligibility limit. We will not blindly add like 500 GB or 1 TB, and we don't need it, right? We don't need to add those many that that amount of storage. Okay, so I will explain about every settings because that's very important to understand. And once our server is up and running, I will show you how to connect to that running server. Okay, so we talked about this instance type. You can click on the drop down and you can see here T2.micro is free tier eligible. And if you go down, you can see that there are many more T2.large, T2.x large, where 4 CPUs and 16 GB of RAM, right? So we will only go with the free version T2.micro. So I'm selecting this. Make sure that you are not selecting any heavy server. Okay, the next is key pair. Key pair is nothing but a, I would say, it's a login process. If you are launching a server, definitely you would like to connect to that server once the server is ready. But how do you connect? It's a it's a not exactly password, but a mechanism to log in into your system. You can read this out. You can use a key pair to securely connect to your instance. Ensure that you have access to the selected key pair before you launch the instance. So you click on this drop down and there are two ways. Either proceed without a key pair, that also you can do, but that's not recommended as you can see here. If you are launching a server and if you are not able to access it, then there is no point of having that server, right? So what we do is we'll create a key pair. Click on here, create a new pair and provide some name. So I would say my test key pair. You can give any name and remaining whatever are details given, right? There is a key pair type, RSA is okay, and private key file format. If you are on Mac, you can download .pem file. In case of Windows, you can use putty. What putty is, I will show you shortly. So in my case, it's Windows. I will select .ppk, okay, and then I will click on create key pair. So once you click on create key pair, it will automatically download one file. You can see on the left lower corner of my browser. This file will be downloaded on my local system, and make sure that this file is securely stored somewhere. Because if you lost this file somehow, by mistake you delete this file, you won't be able to log in into your newly launched server. So it's very important to, you can say, safely store this key pair file. As of now, it is downloaded into my downloads folder. No worries, we'll use it from there. Okay, so what we did is we selected the image, we selected the instance type, we selected the key pair. After that, network setting. So by default, it will automatically take network setting. That means in which VPC it will be launching your server. VPC is related to networking. So we'll not go much detail into networking part, but basically whenever your server is being launched, there will be some IP address associated with that server. The networking part basically, right? So the networking part will be automatically taken care. You can see this auto assign public IP. That will be automatically taken care by your AWS. But in case you want to customize, in case you want to change the behavior, you can click on edit, which is usually not required. So we'll proceed. And the next is create a security group. Security group is very important concept. I will tell you what does that mean. Security group decide like who can send the inbound traffic to your server. If I'm launching a server and I'm able to log in into it, that makes sense. But that does not mean that anyone in this world, if they know the public IP address of my server, they should not be able to log in. I don't want any unknown person login into my system. So security group is required. Security group will, you can say, filter your traffic. It will say whether the inbound traffic is allowed or not. As of now, you can see here, allow SSH traffic. SSH traffic means remotely connecting to your system. We have to allow this. If you will not allow this SSH traffic, that means even you yourself won't be able to connect to your server. That's why we are allowing only SSH traffic. Apart from that, in case you are planning to host any web application, any website on your server, then you can allow this HTTPS traffic in case your website is HTTPS enabled. Or if your website is just HTTP, in that case you can check this box, these two boxes. As of now, we do not have any plan to run any website on our server, so I am not enabling these two things. We will simply proceed only with this first option, that is allow SSH traffic. Okay, so this is about networking part. Coming down is configure storage. So 8 GB is already provided by AWS as a root volume. Just like in Windows, we have a C drive, right? That's your root volume. And apart from C drive, there is D drive, E drive, F drive. But this is Linux based OS. We do not have concept of drive. Rather, we have root volume and non-root volume. So root volume of 8 GB is already there. We can add more volume. And you can read this line. Free tier eligible customer can get up to 30 GB of EBS general purpose or magnetic storage. That means you can use up to 30 GB and that won't be chargeable. That is under free tier limit. Okay, so I will add 10 GB here. So 8 GB is root volume. Root volume you cannot remove from your system. That is tightly coupled with your system. Only if you are terminating your server, only that time your root volume will be deleted. But this one, right, second 10 GB I am adding, that is EBS volume. EBS volume means tomorrow if you want, you can even detach this volume from this server and attach this volume to another server. That's also possible. That's why this is known as EBS. This is full form is elastic block storage. Why we are calling it is elastic? Because it's not tightly coupled to this particular server. At this point of time, this is associated, or you can say this is attached with this server. But after a few days, if you think that you want to detach it from this server and you want to attach it to a different server, even that's possible very easily. And that's why we call it as EBS volume. Okay. So that's all. I have specified few things and now I'm ready to launch my server. So I am clicking on launch instance. It will be launching my instance, which will take some time, around 2 to 5 minutes. And once our instances are ready, we will log in into that and will be doing few activities over there. Okay. So I would like to stop here for 2 minutes. In case you are having any doubt, please feel free to ask on the YouTube chat and I will answer your question one by one. Okay, I can launch just a small poll. So I just started one poll asking like whether you have any doubt till now or not. You can respond to that so that I will quickly get to know like how many people are clear and how many people are having doubts on this. Okay, I think I out of six people, five people are saying there is no doubt, and one person is saying there is a doubt. So, in case there is any doubt, I would request to paste in the type in the chat, and then I will answer that question. Okay. So, in case there is no doubt, we can proceed. Let me go back to my. Okay. So I will click on instances list because we just launched one instance, right? and we'll try to get some detail about that instance. So you can see here, this is the name of my instance, my first EC2 server. You can change it in case you want. You can change the server name at any point of time. And then instance ID. This will be automatically assigned to every system, and every system will have a unique instance ID. You cannot decide that. That is automatically decided, or you can say generated by AWS. The current instance state is running, and the type is t2.micro, and it is still in initializing state. Okay, that means, as I said, right, when it will start first time, it will install few important AWS related tools and services on the server. So it is still in initializing state. That means will wait for few minutes, and then we should be ready to connect to the server. If you want more detail, right, you can look at the lower menu. This is the details, right, and you can see the details are displayed here. This is the instance ID, and this is the public IP address. This is automatically installed, and this is a private IP address also. And apart from that, you can scroll down. There's a host name that is again auto assigned by AWS, and instance type t2.micro, and VPC ID, that's also auto assigned by AWS. Okay, subnet ID. Subnet is nothing but a, I would say, it's a group of IP addresses. It's a range of IP addresses. That means subnet, this one, right? Under this subnet, there's a range of like 100 or 200 IP addresses. That means if you are launching any server within this subnet, then your IP address assigned to your server will be from this particular range. Okay. So in case you want more detail about networking part, I have a separate video for that from my previous batch, and maybe I can share that in our WhatsApp group. You can go through that separately. That's a complete 1 hour of session on networking part, where we talk about VPC, security group, subnet, how does it work, and all these related concepts. Okay, this is only basic detail. If you click on security, you will find more detail about security. You can see very important thing here, IAM role, and this is blank. You remember yesterday we created one IAM role, and that role was specifically created for our EC2 instance. But you can see here, it's not associated with any IAM role. Basically, when you are launching an EC2 instance, it's not mandatory to associate the IAM role at that point of time. It's not mandatory. You can launch the server, but in case you will try to do something from this server, suppose you will execute a code from this server, and the code is trying to read some data from S3, will that work? No, because there is no role associated with your server. That means your server does not have any type of permission. It cannot do any operation. At that point of time, you will realize that we need to assign the IAM role to our server. We'll do that right away so that there is no confusion. Okay, apart from that, you can say security group. One security group is associated with our server, and when this system was launched, that also displayed here, right? So few details are displayed here. You can click on networking, you can click on storage, and you can find the detail about your storage. You can see here 8 GB is there, which is a root volume, right? 10 GB is also there, which we added as a additional volume. And there can be more details if you want. Attachment time, when it was attached, you can see that. So these are the details, and monitoring is there. So under monitoring, you can see that there are different type of statistics available, like CPU utilization. In case you are running any heavy application on your server, in that case CPU utilization will go like high. Similarly, you can see other details. We have network in, network out, network packets in, network packets out, and read, disk write, and many more things are here, right? So basically, for your server, it is providing all type of details. As a developer, at any point of time, if you think that server is not responding, server is heavily loaded, you should come back to EC2 console, and then you have to look at these statistics, monitoring things, and accordingly you will get to know what is the current status of your server. Okay, so I will refresh this page so that we can see whether our system is ready or not. And you can see here, status check 2 by 2 check passed. That means whatever internal things it has to check, that is done. Currently your server is in running state and we are ready to log in into our server. Okay, so we have a question before we proceed. I just looked at the chat. Question is from Babu, and the question is type of storage hardware used for EBS. So there are different type of volume. Just like you have, if you're buying laptop, right? They will provide you like SSD drive or other type of drives are also there, and different type of drives has different type of benefits. If you are looking for more of storage optimized or more of compute optimized, there are different type of storage available. Similarly, when you are launching server and you are adding volume to your server, you have flexibility to choose the type of, if you look at the volume type, right? The volume type is SSD something. We'll go to storage and we'll check. Where is that? So when we were launching, right, there was a type SSD. So because we are under free limit, right, we will go with a specific type. Otherwise, if you are on a enterprise AWS account, you have many more option to choose the volume type. I hope that answered your question, Babu. We have one more question from Murthy. Yes, Murthy, please go ahead. Please ask your type your question in the YouTube chat.